Liz, this
Janice.
is Janice.
Yeah.
I'm here on the telephone. So I just wanted you to know Mayor's on vacation this week.
Oh, okay. Got it. That's fine. I was just trying to figure out whether we were waiting on anybody, I guess. And he was the only person I could think of we'd be waiting on.
You're live.
All righty. Pardon? We're live?
You're
Thank
live,
you.
yeah.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Janice. All right. Then,
We're ready to roll.
well, technically we're 2 minutes early, Randy. So live or not, I think as in deference to all the people like me who like to be late to things, I'm not going to officially start the meeting until it's actually 1 o'clock. But there's nothing worse than getting there on time and discovering somebody started early. I can just say from personal experience.
I don't know if there's nothing worse, but
Okay, all right. There are several. Never mind. There are many things worse. You were totally right, but still, as somebody who was perennially late, arriving on time and finding that the meeting started early is a bummer.
And Mr. Memmi, I think that we're going to have a representative from
Nimbus?
the organization on here in a minute or two.
He's Tony's there, Jason.
What's that, Phil?
Tony's in.
Looks like your whole team is here, Jason.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I can't see anybody
here.
for some reason. Okay, hi, Tony.
Okay.
Hello.
Yeah, I'm seeing Tony. Hi, Tony.
Hello.
All right. So now we got everybody together. All right. I'd like to officially call to order the Finance Committee meeting of Tuesday, June 21st. It is 1 p.m. and we are live on a digital platform. Present from City Council, we have myself, pardon me, now I'll put the video on. Myself, Liz Neely, as well as Randy Allison. From the administration, we have Skip Memmi from Community Development. We have Kevin Mackey from the Treasurer's Office, Joe Pavlak from Finance, Janice Frank from the City Clerk's Office, Peg Woodring from the Controller's Office, and of course our tech guy as well. Chris Black is here. So a relatively small contingent from the city. And then we have Tony Ecker, Phil Trometer, and Jason Fitzgerald. Phil, you're not here with Penn Strategies. Who are you here with?
With Penn Strategies, Councilwoman. Yep.
Oh, okay, never mind. All right, Phil Trometer and Jason Fitzgerald from Penn Strategies, and Tony Ecker as a representative of Nimbus LLC, I'm assuming. Correct, Tony?
Yes, that's correct.
All right. Okay, we have 2 agenda items today. The first of which, oh, you'll pardon me while I flip out to pull it up. The first of which is a resolution of the City of Williamsport authorizing the submission of an application for funding to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania for the Redevelopment Assistance Capital Program grant in the amount of $1 million for the Pine Square Improvement Project. All right, Mr. Memmi, why don't you go ahead and lead this one off?
Thank you, Councilwoman. Very simply, it's the city applying for the RCAP grant for the subrecipient, which is, I believe, Tony Eckler and Nimbus LLC. The project is to be located in the area of the Pine Square at 343 Pine Street. And with that, I'll be glad to turn it over to Phil or anyone from his team.
Sure. So, well, thanks everybody for taking the time to just hear a little bit about the project and what Tony and Katie Ecker are trying to do. I'll just sort of give a high level overview. Jason can talk a little bit about the RACP program itself. I know quite a few people here on the call and you guys are familiar with RACP, but we can still just kind of give an overview of what it is. So Tony and Katie are the new proud owners of Pine Square. And part of this project is a couple things, and Tony can talk more about it, but essentially the city would be serving as the pass-through entity. All the compliances, all of the fund RDA forms and things that the Office of the Budget requires will be handled by Penn Strategies, by our internal team and our RACP division here at the firm. So I don't actually own the property, so I'm just going to kick that off to Tony. And if anybody has any questions on RACP, I'll ask Jason just to jump in. And Tony, when you're done, just kind of giving an overview of the project, then Jason and me can jump in and fill in any gaps.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Council, but I'm just here to answer any questions you may have about the RCAP program. If I can't answer them, Carol High can answer them. So, Mr. Ecker, go ahead.
Okay, well, thank you for the introduction, gentlemen. As Phil said, my wife and I have recently taken the entirety of the property from my partners. So we are now the sole owners down here on 343 Pine, 337 Pine, 345 Pine, 349 Pine, the entirety of the Pine Square there. 10 years ago, actually, it was 10 years ago when the Brickyard first opened up. My partners and I had, created this space down here on private funds, and we like to think we did a pretty good job in building a restaurant, and then a second restaurant, and some apartment spaces and some retail spaces. But we did run out of funds a long time ago. And when my wife and I were presented with the opportunity to take this on, it was more a matter of wanting to finish the project and bring everything that we had originally envisioned for Pine Square into completion. There are multiple retail outlets down here that are just currently empty spaces used for storage by the restaurants or the apartment buildings that we never had the funds to get finished off. The stage area where I'm sure, some of you, if not all of you, have seen some live music down here on Pine Square was literally just some plywood that we put on top of a planter, a garden that was never actually created into a staging area. Same with the Stonehouse restaurant. When we opened the Stonehouse, it was done on a shoestring budget. So the outdoor space or patio area is just a filled-in planter with a little fence around it. And not to mention, the other big thing when we first, did this project in 2010 and 12, sorry about that. Behind the building was a falling down parking garage, and we looked at it as the entrance to Pine Square was on Pine Street. And we put all of our funds into beautifying the front of the buildings on Pine Street, putting a sign up there and a water feature and artwork and things along those lines. Shortly thereafter, the city got some money and a grant, and they got to tear down that garage, and they've created a beautiful parking area behind us, which has kind of become the a main center point for downtown Williamsport and the main entrance onto our courtyard. But we, we're not afraid to admit that the backside of our buildings do not, represent us the best way. And, the goal was to clean this all up and make a more inviting area to downtown Williamsport and the center of downtown. So that's kind of where we started. And, Phil and Jason were nice enough to come on and say, hey, we can, maybe help you with this project. And, that's where I am. Anything I'm missing, Phil, Jason?
Also, the surface for Pine Square.
Okay, so yeah, part of the project does include some renovations as far as some of the old HVAC work, some of the old structures that were kind of built in. The Pine Square itself, which was at one point in time 349 Pine, the Doe Fisher building, that we then collapsed to build a square on, is maybe starting to sink a little bit. It's starting to become very unlevel and not very wheelchair friendly or sure the proper terminology there, but it's not becoming the easiest place to walk up and down. And
Yeah,
one of
there's
the
some
bigger-
accessibility issues.
Yeah, accessibility. So one of the bigger aspects of this was to get that kind of resurfaced, fix some drainage issues that we have on the courtyard to make it a more
ADA.
friendly area for people to walk around on.
If I could just, members of council, and Mr. Memmi laid it out pretty good. So pretty well, what we're asking for is, so we've reviewed what will become the single application for assistance. It is a qualifying project. We've identified the appropriate capital budget line items. Carol High, who's just joined our team from, you see Carol in the corner there, who just joined our team from Penn State University, is going to be assisting with the post-award application if we're successful in securing the funds. But what we would be doing is looking for the city to serve as the pass-through entity, which you have done in several other instances. The project, Mr. Ecker understands all the rules related to the redevelopment assistance capital program. It is a reimbursement program. He understands that prevailing wage and U.S. Steel are required. And we have spoken, we're very appreciative of the mayor for getting on board with this project. And we have obviously spoken with Senator Yaw and with Governor Wolf's office about this, and they seem to be excited about it. So we don't know when the next round will open. We anticipate that it will open shortly after the state budget, which appears to be on track to be passed on time, which is by July 1. So we're thinking that probably July 5th is when this will open, and we'll have a 30-day window to submit the application. So anyway, with that, I just wanted to lay out, essentially how the redevelopment assistance capital program works. And then obviously we'd be happy to answer any questions relative to the details of that. And I'm sure that Mr. Ecker and Mr. Thermometer would be willing to answer any questions about the project.
Sounds great. Thanks, Jason. Thanks, everybody. And Randy, do you want to kick things off?
Sure. Yeah, I don't, excuse me, really have any questions. I think it's a great project. I like your conceptual ideas. I think the original project was a blessing for the city, being such a centerpiece down there. So it's been very popular, and it's been great from the get-go. And it's interesting that you brought up the entranceway kind of flipping, but in the end, it'll be nice to have two very nice entranceways for foot traffic coming in that's just wandering around downtown, or people that are for a destination point parking out there. So, I think that'll end up being a big bonus as well. But I think it's great that you're going to put money into development of underused spaces. That's perfect. So, just appreciate everybody, Penn Strategies, for taking this under, and I think it's going to be a success.
And just so council knows, there will be another project that we'll be bringing in front of you in a couple of weeks. It does not compete with this project because there are two separate line items in the capital budget. So we've been working very closely with two entities in the city. Obviously one is Tony and his group. And then the second is the redevelopment of the Basin Street Plaza, which is going to become the River Valley Plaza. So we're doing these things in conjunction with the senator's office and the governor's office so that they don't compete with one another. So anyway, just wanted to note that as well, that we're working collaboratively, with other developers in the city. And so that's an exciting project as well. This one's really exciting because it's a downtown project. The other one is really exciting because it's sort of a continuation of the East 3rd Street work that you all have done.
Great, Jason. And just to make sure, this also doesn't compete with anything that the city has in the works, correct?
No, the mayor and I had a conversation, the mayor and Tony and I had a conversation along with and I think there's going to be a meeting scheduled soon with some of the other developers, but he's confident that this won't compete with anything that the city's doing. And we've offered obviously to work in conjunction with Delta Development or whomever at the city to make sure that there doesn't appear as though there's any other RACP applications that are being submitted by the city or MTFs that are being submitted by the city in the case of the other project.
Okay, got it. So the other one's an MTF. All right. Okay.
The other one may end up being an RCAP,
Okay.
Councilwoman, but it won't compete because there's a certain amount of money that's going to be allocated for the city. And we're going to continue to obviously keep the mayor informed on that.
Got it. Okay. So just a handful of questions that I think probably between finance and Penn Strategies we can get answered here on the timeline with RACP. So we will see a second resolution when you submit the actual full application for RACP, assuming that we get that far, correct?
Yes. So if this is approved, obviously it doesn't have to necessarily be approved for the full million. It'll in likelihood it won't be approved for the whole million, although we're going to try, Tony, to get it for
Thank
the whole
you.
million.
Thanks, Jason.
We're going to try to get it for the whole million. So you will get a second resolution, right, that will grant permission to submit the post award.
Got it. And obviously this RACP still requires an equal match, correct?
Yes, and Mr. Ecker has demonstrated the equal match.
Okay, excellent. And just to be clear, Joe Pavlak, I know that a couple of years ago, we went through a similar process for the Pajama Factory. We asked them to have a certain amount of money in financing available just as a guarantee to the city. And obviously, we also executed an agreement with the developer prior to moving forward. Did we do that? Did we do that in concert with the initial pre-application, or did we do it with the full application?
I believe that was with the full application. I'd have to go back to the records to be sure. But as one of the special conditions, I think Jason will confirm this, one of the special conditions, there will need to be a cooperation agreement between the applicant and sub-applicant. So that will come down the road.
Yeah, we'll have to demonstrate that, Councilwoman, before we submit the post-award application. So we would have to show that not only to you guys, but to the city. Or excuse me, to the Commonwealth.
Got it. I guess my concern, Jason, is that the resolution reads like a contract between the city and Nimbus, but Nimbus is not signing the resolution.
Councilwoman, the mayor asked and the city solicitor asked that I just put some of that language in there. Just to make sure and comfort you guys and indemnify the city and not leave you guys on the hook. So I know it reads just like the post award contract, but
got it.
So that's
I think the city solicitor insisted on that, right? Yeah, which is fine, but
yeah. Okay. Well, for the record, in terms of the post award contract, it needs, to my way of thinking, to mirror the agreement that we had with the Pajama Factory. And if we need to update any of those items that we had with the Pajama Factory, great, and we should think about that. But I don't want to be requiring less for some reason of a new applicant than we required of the Pajama Factory when we executed that agreement. If there are things that we did not require of the Pajama Factory that we've discovered in hindsight, perhaps we should have, then we should look at that. And that, Mr. Pavlak, of course, is on the administration's due diligence, not necessarily on Penn Strategies. But I just want to make certain that we are being fair to developers across the board when we're executing these agreements to act as a pass-through entity, and that we are requiring the same things of each developer as we required of the one previous. Unless, of course, as I said, there's been an oversight and there's another requirement that we'd like to put in. Mr. Ecker, none of that is me saying that I'm opposed to the project. I think it's a terrific idea. I would say that we at the city have certainly found the amount of paperwork involved with redevelopment and capital assistance grants to be somewhat onerous, but I'm assuming that Mr. Fitzgerald will be taking care of that paperwork for you.
Yeah,
Carol,
I sure
the-
hope so.
The great Carol High, between Carol High and myself, we will be taking care of it.
Got it.
We've brought on a person on our team that will do nothing but RCAP
Okay.
because there is that much, and we've assured her that it's more than a full-time job. And her previous experience was with NASA grants, so we think she's pretty technical savvy. Right.
Yeah. The only reason I say that, Tony, is that I've always thought when we apply for these things, like there's like an is it worth it point.
Oh, I definitely would agree, Liz. I would definitely agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot of paperwork.
But exactly. But that said, I agree with you that the space that you guys have built out on Pine Street has really been an asset to the city, but also that there is much more that can be done with it. And if this funding will help you get there, then I think that it is excellent that you are pursuing it. And it sounds hopefully you will get it. So wonderful. I just want to make sure that on the city's end, obviously we are, as I said, being fair to all of the pass-through applicants that we have currently working with the city, and that we are obviously at some point executing an agreement with you that indemnifies us that both you and the city sign so that we've got that going. Gotcha. But as long as you're telling me, Jason, that'll be happening here at the next step. And you said you didn't say notification will happen by July 5th on the pre-application process.
No, the single application, Councilwoman, will open up, we think, in July 5th. That's not even guaranteed yet. And then we're not thinking on notification until October. They usually do like to time these before the election. And of course, there'll be a new administration too. Yeah. So we anticipate, like I say, July, but don't be surprised if they push it back a little bit later than that. But no, we won't know if we've gotten this money until probably October.
Got it. And then we'll commence the application process itself.
Right. Right. And just because you approved the submission of a single app doesn't necessarily mean, I mean, we would hope obviously that you would support the post award too, but that's a different step that you all will have to take.
Right. Got it. Okay. And so I'm assuming this particular timing of this resolution relates to the hope that it will open up on the 5th of July prior to our next meeting.
Correct.
Right. All right. Then I hope that happens too. And certainly, well, we'll see what happens on Thursday from the full body of council, but Randy, I would take a motion at this point to forward this to the full body of council with positive recommendation.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Body council with a positive recommendation.
Okay.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
And thank you, Mr. Memmi, and thank you to
vote on it real quick. Let us vote on it real quick before you start.
Oh, sorry.
Randy could totally change his mind in the next 30 seconds.
Okay.
Just never know with him. All right.
I'm a solid yes.
All in favor.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right, Jason, now you're safe.
Thank you to council and to Mr. Memmi and to the mayor for assisting us with this.
Got it.
Very much.
I would say I'm not sure that you'll need to bring the full court press to council on Thursday, although I
don't think we will. I don't think that Carol and I don't know, Phil, you can tell me if you want me there or whatever, but
I'm feeling good about it, but we'll have representation there.
Okay.
My wife and I will be there on Thursday.
Okay.
But I don't think that everybody needs to be there. So, okay. All right, then I think that's taken care of. Thanks for coming, gentlemen, and thanks for the
thanks,
presentation.
guys.
Thanks for having us.
Good day.
Bye-bye. All right, that allows us to move on to item number 2 then on our agenda, which is any related items. Not a lot of activity right now in the city. The only, the only related item that I had to address right now was the question, Mr. Pavlak, has the administration figured out what we should be, how we should be dealing with I know that we were discussing amending the transfer ordinance for the ARPA grant on second reading to reflect the fees for compliance.
Correct. I worked out a recommendation of what I'm feeling we could bring to council based on, was it Councilman Yoder's bringing that to light during first reading of the ordinance, but it's $105,000 that we're looking for to complete the contract that was approved with the UHY advisors. So what my recommendation would be to take the categories that have money set aside for future projects that aren't tied to any approved projects and allocate that 105 proportionately amongst those line items. Currently, there's funding of that nature in the economic development category, public works category, and recreation categories. And that would boil down to 15,000 out of economic development, 25,000 out of public works, and 65,000 out of recreation to come up with 105,000.
All right. That sounds like a reasonable, I mean, it seems like we should either just take 35 out of each or take proportional amounts.
I did it based upon the amounts available in their uncategorized or that weren't tied to projects at this point. Recreation having the biggest piece. But again, I'm looking, I'll offer or entertain any suggestions, but that was going to be my way or my proposal. And I can draft something up to show that, because I believe we'll have to make that by motion.
I think that applies, Joe, if you would.
Thursday night. So yep. I can bring the twos and the froms and
I'm not sure. My guess would be that we'll still have to make the motion to go up and down on each of those lines in the budget separately to it, but it's possible if you could give us text that we could just.
We'll have to see what the solicitor recommends. I know that in some cases, just for ease and for timing, they'll let things go as a group if they feel it will pass as a group, but we can defer to them Thursday night. Yep. So,
all right. Well, good. I'm glad. And did the administration have any other funding that it wanted to shift on second reading?
I did not see anything. I'll scan back through emails and see whether anything else was brought up, but I don't recall seeing anything at this point.
Because I do feel as though we should be looking to allocate some more of those funds, but I don't know about you, Randy, but it seems as though we've, so perhaps we need to start putting our heads together again to look at how to shift the and projects we should be pursuing, because we're not making headway as I think we should be making there. And price going up.
Yeah, more than a conceptual framework, because time flies by and we don't want to be.
Right. And we don't want to be at the end of next year trying to get rid of it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Secondary problem. So, yeah. But thank you. Thanks, Joe, for figuring that piece out. Anyway, I appreciate it. And the only other thing I wanted to address as part of any related items is that I did not get around to setting up the framework for, and that's on me. I completely forgot until today, the framework for examining budgetary issues in finance. So my proposal, Janice, are you still out there?
Yes.
Okay. My proposal would be for the second meeting in July, would you start putting budget discussions on the agenda? I'm gonna, I'll reach out to the chief of police, but anyway, my hope is to start with police and then fire, and potentially then codes, and then go from there.
Okay, should I title it budget discussions - police so they know they're first, or?
Yeah, I guess you could put budget discussions - police for right now, and maybe check with me before we go live with that agenda, just to make sure that how we're looking at it. But that we'll do that second agenda so that they have a little bit of time to look at things. Okay,
you got it.
all right. If anyone else have any related items to address?
I do.
Sure, Randy.
I just like to welcome our new treasurer, Mr. Mackey, to what I assume is your first city council committee meeting.
That is correct.
And well, I'm glad you're on board and in the flow, and if there's anything we can help you with, any questions, we're definitely here. You can contact any of us, but certainly Liz or myself, have any kind of question, procedural or otherwise. But congratulations and glad to have you here.
Thank you, guys.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, Kevin. Randy is much better with, just being polite and generally mindful of other people than I am.
Okay.
So welcome, and we are happy to have you, and we're excited to see you kind of jumping in and checking things out. And if there's anything at all that we can do for you, just let me know, and we can grab some coffee, whatever, and try and figure stuff out.
Perfect.
Okay. All right. Okay. Did I hear any related items, or did you just say I do twice, Randy? Anybody?
I just said it probably a couple times, yeah.
Okay. Good. Well, thank you for catching the politeness things that I tend to miss. I appreciate it. And if there are no further related items, I would take a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Janice, don't say that we bogged down your summer with a bunch of minutes that you had to transcribe.
No, you've all been great. Thanks.
Okay.
All right.
We'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.